place be both a quiet historical monument and a world-class beach escape? This stretch of Sri Lanka refuses to choose, blending colonial grit with pure tropical energy. We're hitting the loop from the fort's cobblestones to the iconic palms of Coconut Tree Hill. All the guidance on snorkeling gear, wood-fired pizza, and dodging the midday heat is right here. Follow along and let's conquer the south coast of Sri Lanka. Day 1. Kandy's cultural core and hilltop views. Morning. Royal Botanical Gardens. Can a garden actually be a royal flex instead of just a walk in the park? This 150-acre sanctuary proves it is, serving as the perfect first stop for our Sri Lanka journey. We're heading just outside central Kandy to the Royal Botanical Gardens of Petadenya. Arrive at the gates right for the 7:30 a.m. opening to catch the crisp mountain air before the midday tour groups turn the place into a zoo. These 150 acres or 60 hectares along the Mahaweli River were the private playground of Kandyan kings long before the British arrived. The collection's massive, featuring over 4,000 species, including a giant bamboo grove and an orchid house that's a total standout. Give yourself about 2 hours to wander through the landscape and see how that royal history still shapes the grounds. Entry for foreign visitors is about $10. Since the gardens are sprawling and mostly uncovered, wear light clothing and your most comfortable shoes to survive the trek. Insider tip. Before heading out to the gardens, find a tuk-tuk driver in the Kandy town center and negotiate a flat rate for the entire day. You can usually lock this in for around $10 to $15. It's much cheaper than booking individual rides, and it guarantees you won't be stranded looking for a lift once you're out in the hills or at the Tea Museum. Late morning, Ceylon Tea Museum. Once you're finished at the gardens, climb into the hills above Kandy to find the Ceylon Tea Garden. The 20-minute drive takes you through the winding residential roads until the valley opens up below. This museum is housed in the old Hamthana Tea Factory, a massive 19th century structure that saw the country's entire economy pivot from coffee to the global tea empire we see today. The walkthrough moves floor by floor through the old production lines. Seeing the original machinery used for withering, rolling, and drying the leaves makes the history of the trade feel far more mechanical and real than a textbook. The guided explanation helps connect the dots on how this tiny island became one of the world's top exporters. Entry costs between $5 and $7. Finish the visit at the top floor cafe for a tasting session of different tea grades while looking out across the surrounding peaks. Insider tip. Step out onto the small balcony near the cafe before you head back down. The hilltop breeze and the panoramic view are the best parts of the visit and come at no extra cost. Afternoon, lunch at Buono. After trekking through the hills, head back into central Kandy to refuel at Buono. This spot is a social enterprise that supports local families while serving a mix of Western comfort food and Sri Lankan flavors. The menu's built around hearty, high-quality plates. The pulled beef burger and the savory mushroom waffles are the standout choices, but they also serve reliable espresso and fresh fruit juices. Most main dishes will cost you between $7 and $12. The food is fresh, the portions are solid, and it's easily one of the best spots in the city center to grab a quick, clean meal. Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic. After lunch, take a quick walk toward the lakeside to find the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic. Known locally as Sri Dalada Maligawa, this temple sits within the former royal palace grounds and houses a sacred tooth of the Buddha. It's the most significant spiritual site in the country, and the historical weight is felt the moment you cross the moat. You must cover your shoulders and knees to enter, and shoes are left at the gate. The path leads through white stone corridors and carved wooden halls filled with the scent of flower offerings. While the relic stays secured in a gold casket, the energy of the drumming halls makes the visit feel incredibly immersive. Entry for foreign visitors is about $6.50. Afterward, a slow walk along the Kandy Lake perimeter is the best way to decompress from the crowds inside. Insider tip. Aim for the 6:30 p.m. evening puja. This is when the golden door of the inner sanctum is actually open to the public, accompanied by live traditional drumming in the lower hall. Evening, Bahira Vokanda Vihara Buddha statue. As the day winds down, head up to the Bahira Vokanda Vihara Buddha statue for the best vantage point in the city. This massive white-seated Buddha towers over Kandy, and the short uphill drive leads you to the platform at its base. From this height, the entire valley spreads out below you. You can see Kandy Lake, the temple complex, and the surrounding mountain ranges all at once. Arrive just before sunset when the temperature drops and the city lights begin to flicker on. It's a quiet, panoramic spot that gives you a clear sense of the scale of Sri Lanka's hill country. Entry for the site is about $1.50. Like the main temple, you'll need to remove your shoes and ensure your shoulders and knees are covered to walk up the stairs behind the statue. Dinner at Slightly Chilled Lounge. End the day at Slightly Chilled Lounge, a rooftop hangout located on the hills overlooking the lake. It's a bit of a climb from the temple complex, so grab a quick tuk-tuk to get there. The draw here is the open-air deck that gives you a clear view of the Kandy skyline as the sun goes down. The menu focuses on Indo-Chinese fusion, which is a massive hit in Sri Lanka. Order the crispy chili beef or the sizzling chicken, as these are the dishes that made this place famous. If you want something simpler, they also serve reliable burgers and pasta. Expect to pay between $9 and $16 for a main dish. Day 2. Sigiriya's ancient fortress and cave temples. Morning, Sigiriya Rock Fortress. Today starts with an early departure from Kandy around 6 a.m., so you can reach Sigiriya close to opening time at 7 a.m. This 5th century royal citadel, built by King Kashyapa, rises 660 feet above the jungle floor. Arriving early is essential to finish the climb before the heat peaks and the narrow stairways get bottlenecked by crowds. The ascent takes about 45 minutes, leading through ancient water gardens and up to the famous Lion's Gate, where only the massive stone paws remain. Along the way, stop to see the frescoes and the mirror wall before reaching the summit. The top holds the ruins of the palace foundations and a 360-degree view across the central plains. Entry for foreign visitors is $30, since the climb involves steep, exposed metal staircases. Wear shoes with solid grip and bring plenty of water. Insider tip: while most people rush to the summit, take a moment at the boulder gardens near the base on your way down. These natural rock formations were used by monks long before the palace existed and offer the best shade on the entire site. Afternoon, lunch in Sigiriya. Once you've descended the rock, head toward the village for a clean local meal. I recommend Rithu Restaurant, a family-run spot on the main road known for authentic flavors and a relaxed open-air setting. The menu centers on a traditional rice and curry spread served in clay pots, featuring seasonal vegetable curries, dal, and crispy papadums. Their vegetable kottu and garlic grilled prawns are also standouts if you want something other than rice. Most main plates range between $6 and $12, and the portions are large enough to fuel for the rest of your day. Late afternoon, Dambulla Cave Temple. From Sigiriya, head about 25 minutes toward Dambulla to reach the Golden Temple. This UNESCO-listed complex is carved into a massive granite outcrop and has served as a sacred site for over 2,000 years. After a short climb up the stone staircase, you'll find 5 separate caves packed with over 150 Buddha statues. The interiors are incredible. Every inch of the rock ceilings is covered in detailed Buddhist murals that have survived centuries of humidity. The dim, quiet atmosphere inside of the temples makes the gold leaf statues stand out against the ancient stone. Entry for foreign visitors is about $7. As with all sacred sites, ensure your shoulders and knees are covered, and you'll need to leave your shoes at the designated area before entering the cave terrace. Insider tip: buy your ticket at the bottom of the hill before you start the climb. There's no ticket counter at the top near the cave entrance, and having to hike back down to get one is a mistake you only make once. Evening, dinner at Cafe 1886. Back in Kandy, head to Cafe 1886 within the historic Queen's Hotel. The 19th century colonial architecture and high ceilings give this spot a distinct, old-world character right in the center of the city. The menu's a mix of refined Sri Lankan staples and international comfort food. The Sri Lankan curry platter is the go-to for a traditional spread, but their grilled sea bass and beef steak are equally well regarded if you want a break from spices. Expect to pay between $14 and $25 for a main course. If there's space, sit on the outdoor terrace. It looks directly toward the temple complex and the lake, which is the best view you'll get in the city center at night. Day 3, Scenic Rail Journey and Ella's Hilltop Views. Morning, train from Kandy to Ella. Get to Kandy Station early for the morning train to Ella. This 6-hour ride is the trip's peak, cutting through high-altitude tea estates and mountain passes invisible from the road. Secure a first-class or reserved second-class seat a few days ahead to guarantee a window. Don't bother packing a heavy lunch. Vendors board at every stop selling fresh samosas, spicy peanuts, and hot tea for a couple dollars. Sit on the right side for the first half to catch the best valley views. As the elevation climbs, the air cools and the scenery shifts to misty pine forests and waterfalls. You'll pull into Ella by early afternoon, swapping Kandy's humidity for a crisp mountain breeze. Insider tip: skip the air-conditioned first-class cars if you want the classic experience. The reserved second-class carriages have large windows you can actually open, which is the only way to properly see the tea pluckers on the slopes and feel the change in the mountain air. Late afternoon, 9 Arches Bridge. Once you've dropped your bags in Ella, take a 10-minute tuk-tuk ride to the trailhead of the 9 Arches Bridge. A short walk through the jungle leads you to this massive colonial-era viaduct built entirely of stone and brick. It spans a deep gorge and remains one of the most impressive engineering feats in the Highlands. Late afternoon is the best time to arrive. The light softens over the tea bushes and the midday crowds begin to thin. If the time's right, you can watch the train slowly cross the span, which is the classic Sri Lankan photo op. There's no entry fee to walk the tracks or explore the valley floor. The area's dotted with small stalls where you can grab a fresh coconut for about $2, plan for about 45 minutes, or walk the length of the bridge and find a good vantage point. Evening, Little Adams Peak. From the bridge, head to the Little Adams Peak trailhead for a sunset look over the Ella Gap. This is the easiest hike in the area, taking about 30 minutes to reach the summit via a well-marked path through the tea estates. The top offers a massive view of the rolling highlands and the valley floor dropping away below you. Aim to be there for sunset when the light hits the ridges and the temperature cools. There's no entry fee, and the climb is mostly steady stone steps that any fitness level can handle. Plan for an hour at the summit to explore the different rocky outcrops. Evening, dinner. Cafe Chill. Head back to the main strip for dinner at Cafe Chill. It's the busiest spot in town, known for its massive thatched roof design and an open-air upper deck. The menu covers everything from burgers to local specialties. The lump rice, meat, and sabals baked in a banana leaf is the move here if you want something traditional. Their chicken kottu is another solid choice if you're looking for a classic Sri Lankan street food. Most main dishes run between $12 and $20. It's high energy, social, and the best place to see the town come alive after dark. Day 4, Wild Safari and South Coast Shift. Morning, Udawalawe National Park Safari. Get on the road by 6 a.m. to trade the Ella mist for the dry heat of Udawalawe. The 2-hour drive drops you from the mountains straight into the scrublands where the elephants own the place. Unlike the dense jungles elsewhere, the scenery here is wide-open grassland, meaning you aren't squinting through bushes to find movement. Once you jump into your 4x4 Jeep, the sightings start almost immediately. You'll find massive herds of elephants wandering across the tracks, water buffalo lounging in the reservoirs, and crocodiles hanging out on the banks. It's raw, quiet, and far less chaotic than the busier parks like Yala. A private Jeep safari usually costs around $40 to $60, plus the park entry fee of roughly $25 to $30. Morning is the sweet spot for activity before the sun forces everyone, including the animals, into the shade. Bring your sunglasses and some sunscreen, as those open-sided Jeeps offer zero protection from the glare once you're out on the plains. Afternoon, lunch at the Garlic. After the dust settles from your safari, head just a few minutes down the road to the Garlic. It's a family-run spot with a solid reputation for home-style cooking that isn't just mass-produced for the tour bus crowds. The move here is the rice and curry buffet, which usually features about 4 or 5 different vegetable curries, dal, and papadums for around $5 or $6. If you want a break from the traditional, their cheese kottu and fresh fruit juices are high-quality alternatives. Expect most main plates to fall between $6 and $12. It's clean, breezy, and the perfect place to refuel before the afternoon drive to the coast. Late afternoon, Unawatuna Beach. After lunch, head south until the road hits the ocean at Unawatuna. Once you've dropped your bags, get straight to the sand to shake off the morning safari dust. The bay is shaped like a giant horseshoe, which keeps the water calm and perfect for a proper swim compared to the rougher surf breaks nearby. The coastal energy is a total shift from the dry plains. Expect white sand, leaning palms, and a much slower rhythm. Late afternoon is the best time to arrive as the heat drops to a comfortable 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and the light over the Indian Ocean turns gold. It's the perfect spot to kill a few hours without spending a cent. Take a walk along the shore or just find a patch of sand to watch the tide. After a morning spent tracking elephants in the scrubland, the salt water and the breeze are exactly what you need to reset for the evening. Evening. Dinner at Thaproban Beach House. Walk down the shoreline for dinner at Thaproban Beach House. They set the tables right on the sand, so you're eating just a few meters from the waves. It's a standout seafood spot in Unawatuna that skips the tourist trap gimmicks found further down the beach. The grilled seafood platter is the best move here. It usually comes loaded with prawns, calamari, and whatever reef fish was caught that morning. If you've had enough fish, their cashew nut curry is a rich, creamy local alternative. Prices for mains generally sit between $15 and $30, depending on the catch. It's a high-quality, laid-back spot to finish the day with your feet in the sand. Day 5. Galle's Colonial Streets and Local Flavors. Morning. Galle Fort Exploration. Take the 15-minute drive from Unawatuna to Galle Fort to explore a massive 16th century fortress that feels like a European village dropped into the tropics. The Portuguese started it, the Dutch finished it, and the walls still stand thick enough to keep the Indian Ocean at bay. The best way to see it is to walk the ramparts right away before the humidity spikes. You'll get a clear view of the lighthouse and the local cricket pitch on one side, with waves smashing into the stone on the other. Once you've done a lap of the walls, dive into the inner grid of the streets. It's a maze of old colonial villas, high-end galleries, and quiet courtyards that look exactly like they did 300 years ago. You don't need a map, just wander the narrow alleys for 2 or 3 hours. Keep an eye out for the intricate carved doors and shaded verandas that make this place a photographer's dream. There's no entry fee to explore the fort, though the boutique shops along Peddler Street will definitely try to tempt you. Afternoon. Lunch at Lucky Fort Restaurant. Tucked away on Parava Street, Lucky Fort is a family-run spot that's famous for one specific thing: the 10 Curry Feast. While most places give you 4 or 5 options, Lucky Fort serves up a massive spread of 10 different traditional curries, including standout beetroot, pumpkin, and mango variations. The full set for 2 people costs about $12, making it one of the best values you'll find inside the fort walls. It's a quiet, no-frills courtyard setting where the focus is entirely on the food. If you want to take the recipes home, they run informal cooking classes upstairs for around $35 to $40 per person. It's a hands-on session where you'll learn to balance the spices you've been eating all week before sitting down to the meal you've just prepped. Late afternoon. Udawalawe Beach and Palm Swing. Post-lunch, take the 10-minute drive back toward Unawatuna and pull over at Udawalawe. This stretch of sand is more tucked away than the main bay and offers calmer water and a much chiller vibe. It's famous for the palm tree rope swing at Dream Cabana. You've likely seen this spot all over your feed. It'll cost you about $3 for a few swings and is a total blast if you don't mind a little audience. Even if you're not into the Tarzan lifestyle, the swimming here is top tier. A natural reef creates a shallow lagoon that acts as a giant saltwater swimming pool and is often visited by wild sea turtles. The late afternoon sun turns the whole beach gold, which makes it the best time to just float and forget about the drive back. Stick around until the sun starts to dip, as you're already in the perfect spot for dinner. Evening, dinner at Vijaya Beach. Forget about driving anywhere else. Since you're already at Udawalawe, just walk over to Vijaya Beach Restaurant to close out the day. It's a legendary spot where the tables are practically in the tide, giving you the best seats in the house as the stars come out. They're famous for their wood-fired pizzas, specifically the smoked chicken, but the seared tuna steak is the real local hero here. If you're craving a final curry, the prawn version is rich and hits the mark every time. Most mains run between $12 and $25. It's a high-quality, barefoot luxury vibe that lets you soak up the ocean breeze without any unnecessary travel. Day 6. Quiet beaches and southern coast views. Morning, Jungle Beach. Kick off your morning at Jungle Beach, a hidden cove on the Rumasala headland. It's a quick 10-minute tuk-tuk ride from Unawatuna, followed by a short, leafy walk down a jungle path. The main reason to visit is the snorkeling. Unlike the open coastline, this bay is shielded by the headland, keeping the water flat and clear. You don't need a boat. The reef starts just a few meters from the sand. You'll see parrotfish, butterfly fish, and live coral colonies right away. If you don't have your own gear, you can rent a mask and snorkel from the beach shacks for about $2 to $5. If you want the full setup with fins and a life vest, expect to pay around $7 to $10. The water is usually calmest in the early hours, making it easy for even casual swimmers to explore the reef. There are very few facilities beyond a basic beach shack, so bring your own water and keep your gear light. Insider tip: arrive by 8:30 a.m. Since the beach is small, it feels crowded by 10 a.m. once the day trippers and boat tours show up. Getting in guarantees the best visibility for the reef and a quiet spot on the sand before the heat hits. Afternoon, lunch at Kingfisher. Head back to the main beach for lunch at Kingfisher. It sits right on the sand and has a reputation for being one of the more polished spots in Unawatuna without losing that relaxed coastal vibe. The shaded, open-air deck is the right call for cooling down after a morning in the sun. While the menu's varied, the wood-fired seafood is the standout here. The grilled snapper and garlic butter prawns are consistently great, and they also do some of the best salads in town if you want something lighter. Expect to spend between $12 and $22 for a main dish. It's a high-quality spot to refuel and grab a cold drink before you make the short drive east toward Mirissa. Insider tip: skip the standard menu and ask the server for the catch of the day. They usually have fresh options like jumbo prawns or reef fish that were brought in just a few hours earlier and are not listed on the printed menu. Late afternoon, Coconut Tree Hill. After lunch, head about 45 minutes east to Mirissa for Coconut Tree Hill. There's no gate or ticket booth here, just look for a small dirt path that leads up the ridge. The walk only takes a few minutes and the view hits you almost immediately. At the top, you'll find a distinct row of tall palms leaning out over a red earth cliff. It's one of those locations that actually looks like the photos. The ridge is narrow with the Indian Ocean on both sides, making the whole spot feel way more dramatic than the easy walk suggests. Late afternoon is the right time to visit, as the breeze picks up and the water shifts from bright turquoise to a deeper navy. Insider tip: most people take their photos and bolt as soon as the sun hits the horizon. Stay an extra 15 minutes. The blue hour right after the sun disappears is when the palm silhouettes look sharpest against the sky, and you'll have half the crowd to contend with. Evening, dinner at Zephyr Restaurant and Bar. Walk down to the sand for dinner at Zephyr. It's the top pick in Mirissa Beach for a high-quality meal without the loud party noise of nearby bars. Tables sit right by the tide, so you get a direct breeze and the sound of the waves while you eat. The seafood platter and the seared tuna steak are the big draws here. If you want local flavor, their prawn curry is excellent and not too spicy. Most main dishes cost between $18 and $30. It's a relaxed, open-air spot and a perfect final stop before the 45-minute drive back to Unawatuna. Day 7. Coastal calm and fort sunsets. Morning. Stand-up paddleboarding. Get out on the water early while the bay is still like glass. Because Unawatuna is so sheltered, it's the best spot on the coast to grab a paddleboard and head out without fighting the current. You'll find rental boards right on the sand for about $10 to $15 an hour. You don't need a guide, just get a 2-minute brief, hop on, and paddle toward the edges of the bay for the clearest water. It's incredibly peaceful before the rest of the beach wakes up. Insider tip: be on the water by 8:30 a.m. Any later and the wind picks up, the boat traffic starts, and you'll be battling chop instead of enjoying the view. Late morning, Japanese Peace Pagoda. After your paddle, take a 10-minute tuk-tuk ride up to Rumasala Hill to the Japanese Peace Pagoda. This massive white dome sits high above the trees and gives you a 360-degree look of Unawatuna Bay and Galle Harbor. It's a quiet, breezy escape from the beach heat. Spend 30 minutes walking the circular terrace to take in the views. The contrast of the white stone against the deep blue ocean is unreal. Keep in mind, this is a sacred site, so you must take off your shoes and cover your shoulders and knees before walking up. Afternoon, lunch at Cormorant Beach Club. Head back down the hill for lunch at Cormorant Beach Club. It's a laid-back spot right on the sand with plenty of shade to hide from the midday sun. The seared tuna steak and garlic butter prawns are the winners here, but they also do great fresh juices if you need to rehydrate. Expect to pay between $15 and $25 for a meal. It's the perfect place to hang out and watch the waves before your next move. Unawatuna Beach Hangout. After lunch, ditch the schedule and just exist on the sand. This is the time to lean into the slow pace of the coast. Instead of just sitting in one spot, take a long walk along the waterline or find a quiet patch of shade under the palms at the far end of the bay. The water here is shallow and easy, so it's perfect for just floating around while you watch the colorful wooden boats bobbing near the shore. Grab a fresh fruit juice from one of the smaller stalls and watch the beach change as the midday heat starts to fade. It's your last chance to get some salt on your skin before heading back to the cobblestones of the fort. Late afternoon, sunset at Galle Fort Ramparts. Head back to the fort around 5:30 p.m. and climb up onto the massive stone ramparts. This is the ultimate local hangout. You'll see kids flying kites and daredevils diving off the walls into the ocean below. Walk the stretch between the Flag Rock Bastion and the lighthouse. As the sun hits the horizon, the old coral stone walls turn a deep orange and the whole fort feels like it's glowing. It's the best free show in town and the perfect way to say goodbye to the coast. Evening. Dinner at the Tuna and the Crab. After the sky goes dark, walk over to the Dutch Hospital shopping precinct for dinner at the Tuna and the Crab. This place is famous for a reason. It's a collaboration between Darshan Munidasa and Japanese techniques, so the quality is top tier. The olive oil, garlic prawns, and seared tuna steak are legendary. If you're feeling indulgent, their Lankan Lagoon crab is some of the best you'll ever have. Expect to spend between $18 and $30 for most mains. The vibe is sophisticated but relaxed, and since you're already inside the fort, it's a short walk back to your bed. Useful info for spending 1 week in Sri Lanka. Best time to visit. Plan this trip between January and March. These months give you the most reliable mix of sunny beach days and the south coast and comfortable temperatures in the hill country. Expect daytime averages around 24 to 30 degrees Celsius or 75 to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, with Ella and Kandy feeling slightly cooler than Unawatuna and Galle. April is hotter but still workable. From May to September, the southwest monsoon brings more rain and rougher seas to the south coast. October and November are the most unpredictable months, with heavier tropical showers. City airport tips. Most international flights land at Bandaranaike International Airport, CMB, near Colombo. The airport sits about 115 kilometers or 70 miles from Kandy, which is where this itinerary begins. A private transfer to Kandy typically costs between $60 and $90 per car depending on vehicle size and takes about 2.5 to 3 hours. If you prefer public transport, you can take a train or bus into Colombo first, then continue to Kandy, but it adds time and complexity after a long flight. Use official airport taxis, pre-booked transfers, or apps like PickMe. Avoid freelance drivers who approach you inside the terminal. Always agree on the fare before getting in if it's not pre-booked. Where to stay? In Kandy, stay near the lake or slightly uphill for better views and cooler evenings. Expect to pay between $50 and $120 per night for a solid 3- or 4-star hotel. Cheaper guest houses start at around $30, but often lack views and proper air conditioning. In Ella, choose a property with a balcony overlooking the valley. Mid-range stays usually fall between $60 and $140 per night, depending on the season. The closer you are to the main street, the noisier it gets. On the south coast, Unawatuna works best as a base. Beachfront hotels and boutique stays range from $80 to $180 per night, while smaller guest houses start at around $50. Staying near the center of the bay keeps you within walking distance of the beach and a short drive from Galle Fort. How to get around. This itinerary works best with a combination of train and private driver. The train from Kandy to Ella is part of the experience. Reserved seats usually cost between $10 to $20 depending on class and booking method. The ride takes about 6 hours. For longer road stretches, Kandy to Sigiriya, Ella to Udawalawe, and Udawalawe to Unawatuna, hiring a private driver typically runs between $50 and $75 per day for a standard car. It saves significant time compared to buses. Tuk-tuks are ideal for short distances in Unawatuna and Galle. A 10 to 15 minute ride usually costs between $2 and $5 when negotiated properly. Renting a car is not recommended. Traffic rules are loosely followed, roads are narrow, and parking in Galle Fort is limited. Where to eat in Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka's food scene blends bold curries, fresh seafood, and a growing modern cafe culture, especially in Ella and along the south coast. For a refined seafood dinner inside Galle Fort, book a table at a minute by tuk-tuk. Their Sri Lankan tasting platters and seafood curries are the highlights. A full dinner typically costs between $20 and $40 per person, depending on what you order. In Ella, grab a table at Matti Hut for an authentic rice and curry spread. Expect multiple vegetables, curries, dal, and your choice of chicken or fish. A generous meal here usually runs between $6 and $12. For a fully vegetarian and vegan option, head to Puni's Kitchen. Their plant-based dishes focus on local produce and Sri Lankan spices, full meals averaging $15 to $25. From the morning glass of Unawatuna Bay to the red earth cliffs of Mirissa, you've now seen the true pulse of the south coast. Stick to this roadmap and you'll skip the traps and hit the highlights every single time. Hit that like button if you're ready for the next one. Craving a total system shock? We're heading to Singapore next to hunt down Michelin star street food and the neon lights of the Super Tree Grove.